From the grind to the glory, one man's journey proves that heart, hustle, and determination change the game. This is Catch as Catch Can with George Tinsley Sr., where adversity is met head-on and champions are made. Here's George.
Welcome to Catch as Catch Can. I'm George Tinsley Sr., former professional athlete, entrepreneur, author, and your host. This is a space where we sit down with leaders who face real challenges, learned real lessons, and kept moving forward.
Turning obstacles into opportunity.
Good afternoon. We have Reggie Kelly. Reggie is the founder of KYVAN Foods and a former NFL tight end who played 13 seasons with the Cincinnati Bengals and the Atlanta Falcons. Guided by his principles of faith, family, food, and football, Reggie is passionate about entrepreneurship, community impact, and inspiring others through service and leadership. Reggie, welcome. How are you, young man? Glad to have you on our podcast today. Reggie, glad to have you today. I don't think our sound is going through.
Can't hear anything.
Can't hear us, Reggie? Okay, little technical problems here. Let's see if we can get this straight.
Can't hear anything, but
Okay. Definitely on the computer.
I'm not sure what's going on.
You just check there.
Mhm.
Can you hear me now, Reggie?
May have to go multiple.
Can you hear me?
I don't think his volume at all.
I can't hear anything.
He can't hear anything.
What?
Let me change over to a different device.
Okay.
Even quick.
Yeah.
To our audience out there, Reggie's having a few technical difficulties. He'll be back with us very soon. It's going to be an interesting conversation today. Reggie has had a great career in professional football and has now transitioned into business. So, like my past, it's going to be very interesting to understand and hear his transition. Here he is. Reggie's back with us. Can you hear me now, Reggie?
Yes, I can hear you, young man.
Outstanding. Well, Reggie, we're glad to have you on the program. We've done an introduction of about you and your playing career in the NFL and your transition into business. So why don't we hear from you? Tell us a little bit about how you went about that transition, when it actually started in your thinking.
Thank you for the opportunity to be on this prestigious platform. I want to also tell you how impressed I am with your career. Not just allowing people to put a box around you, right? You've taken all your gifts and talents and maximized them to the fullest, not just considering yourself an athlete, but you've done tremendous things, being a trailblazer for guys like me to emulate, and it's helped me also in my career after football. So again, I just want to tell you thank you for that. Now, let me get to the question at hand. I've enjoyed my transition from football to food, or as I like to call it, from the gridiron. And I must admit, now I may have to steal your subject matter from the cleats to the kitchen. So I'm hoping you guys didn't put a trademark on that, but I'm definitely want to steal that one. But when I was in the league, I used to throw free football camps for the kids in my hometown of Aberdeen, Mississippi. I rewarded the kids who exemplified great academic excellence. And so I wanted the kids to understand, when you do well, expect well. When you do good, expect good. Hard work pays off. And the kids absolutely enjoyed those football camps. And after the camps were over, and for that matter, after any event in Mississippi, oh, you're going to have some good food. So my family and my wife's family cooked for all the volunteers. And I tell you, my teammates couldn't stop raving about our family recipes, to the point I remember one of my teammates' wife called my wife and said, "Wow, you guys really need to do something with these family recipes." And my wife, she conveyed that information to me. And I must admit, I really wasn't interested in being an entrepreneur, especially from the standpoint of being a beverage supplier. Because around that time frame, Mr. Tinsley, I had numerous conversations with my head coach at the time, which was Marvin Lewis with the Cincinnati Bengals, and some other executives, and they encouraged me that once I retire from football, to work in the NFL front office, whether if it's at the league office in New York or at a particular franchise. And that's really what I wanted to do, and I was well prepared to do that. But my wife Sheila, she was extremely adamant about us starting a food company, us starting a business, because she felt like this is something that we could do and leave a legacy behind to our kids, to our grandkids, to our great grandkids, to our posterity, so we can leave a legacy behind. And I remember once she gave me that, from that perspective, that really changed my whole outlook. And so we dove into this thing called entrepreneurship, being a food and beverage supplier. We named this company after our kids. My daughter, her name is Kyla, Kyla. My son's name is KYVAN, KAVAN. We combined the two to come up with KYVAN. And we're just like any parent, want to leave a legacy behind, a tangible legacy behind to our kids. Yeah, and we're doing just that.
Well, that's outstanding. Several things that you mentioned. Well, thank you first for your kind remarks. I really appreciate it. A couple of things that you mentioned that I want to relate back to. My wife and I, our first company was called Pengeo Inc.
Yeah.
Pengeo, and that's my daughter Penny and my son George. That we have in common. And I was inspired to become a franchisee while working for KFC Corporation. A great football player by the name of Brady Keys, who was the first black franchisee in the KFC system. He played for Pittsburgh Steelers back in the day, and also Mel Farr, who was a football player that turned car dealer. So this thing kind of trickles on down, and I'm sure that you'll inspire a number of guys who are out there and playing athletics that to transition into the business also. So
Yes.
moving on down the road here, I noticed that faith and family is a big anchor in your journey. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, my family, my family has been instrumental in my walk with Christ. My dad and mom, they taught me that my identity is never in what I do, but my identity is in who I am, and who I am is a man of God. I played football, so that's pretty much what I did. I am an entrepreneur. That's pretty much what I do. A man of God is who I am, so I don't have to perform to garner God's love. I know that. As I did in the NFL, I had to perform. But the great thing about garnering God's love is that He loves me simply because I'm His child. And so my job is to show God how much I love Him by me being obedient to Him and by me living out His purpose, a purpose-driven life that's going to impact people for Christ.
Mhm. That's outstanding. That's outstanding. And family, the part plays in it. You mentioned your wife's family, and you mentioned your family coming together. How does all of that come together and work?
Well, I'm from a close knit family, and my wife, we grew up right up the street from each other, and she's from a
Ah,
family as well. And let me tell you, I'm from an era and a neighborhood to where your neighbors were the ones who helped raise you. My
exactly.
parents and the other parents in my community, they gave each of our family and friends the permission or the autonomy to raise each of us. And if they saw us doing anything wrong as kids in the community, well, my parents gave my neighbors, the permission to discipline us. And when my parents got home, I got disciplined again for embarrassing my parents out in public, right? That's that's the type
That's
of
old
community
school,
that I'm
Reggie. That's
raised.
old school.
And I absolutely now appreciate it
Yeah.
because lets me know that my neighbors, my family members, they really cared about us and they wanted the very best for us. And they wasn't going to allow us to go and do anything that was going to harm our future. They
Mhm.
loved us that much. And as I look back at that, I see from my family to my wife's family, she had the same upbringing. And it's helped us now where we are now looking at kids in our community, kids that I coach, kids that I'm around. They know me. They know that, hey, if I see them doing something out of pocket, doing something that's not right, I'm going to say something. And I'm also going to talk to their parents about it as well in love, because at the end of the day, I want the kids to be nothing but successful.
Yeah. Reggie, that's old school, man. That goes way back, and it's good to hear that. It's good for our audience today to hear that mindset. And you still, I imagine, still hold that true in your business as you operate today. A quick, real little quick story. When I first opened our business, and we put some pretty hard standards for our employees that weren't used to standards in the community. And when I would be driving down the street and I'd see someone in one of our uniforms, and if it was hanging down on their behinds or whatever, I would stop the car with my kids in there. They said, "Daddy, what are you doing?" I said, "We got to teach lessons, and also they've got a uniform on, so they got to wear it right, and that's old school. You don't hear much of that today. So I'm glad you brought that point to us. In your playing career, your 13 years of playing in the NFL, and even your college experience, what were some of the skills that you learned then that have been able to transform into your business today?
That's a great question. When I was a rookie in 1999 with the Atlanta Falcons, I can remember Mr. Tinsley, man. I had a string of bad practices. I couldn't put my finger on why I couldn't get it together, but I had a string of bad practices as a rookie. And I can remember one of the veteran wide receivers on the team by the name of Terrence Mathis. Terrence Mathis came over and gave me some advice. Now, you got to understand that Terrence was all everything at that particular point. Terrence was one of the first 8 players in NFL history to catch over 100 passes in the NFL season. Now, in today's time, that's normal. But back then, that wasn't normal. So he was an elite receiver, an elite player, and he took time to come and talk to me, a little snotty nosed rookie who were trying to build a reputation and build a solid career. And
Mhm.
parents saw me struggling because my whole mindset was I wanted to take the NFL by storm. I wanted to score touchdowns, catches. And that was my deal, man. I wanted to do the big things. And Terrence pulled me to the side. He said, "Listen to me, Reg. If you do the little things right, the big things will follow." And I said, "Man, who is this some big little things, some big thing." Man, listen, I don't want to hear that. I just want to score touchdowns. I don't want to hear any philosophy. I was emotional at the time because I wasn't accustomed to not getting the job done. And he knew it. He knew I was a little bit emotional, but he had great patience with me. And he said, "Now listen to me, big fella. If you do the little things right, trust me, the big things will follow." And then he walked off. And as quickly as Terrence walked off was as quickly as what he said went in one ear, out the other. And I continue with that same trend of trying to take the field by storm, and I kept just having subpar practices. And I don't know if I would call this an epiphany or just I just got some sense knocked into me, but that conversation came back up that Terrence had with me some weeks ago. And I remember, Reggie, Terrence said, if you do the little things right, the big things will follow. And so what I did was I started digging up some old practice film. And I started going over my plays, and I noticed every play that I made a lot of serious mistakes on. There were three things that I was doing wrong. I had bad footwork, bad leverage, and bad hands. My footwork, which is my foundation, was terrible. And as we all know, if you don't have the right foundation, everything else is going to crumble, right? My leverage, I wasn't leveraging my opponent, which means I wasn't leveraging my opportunities. My hands, Mr. Tinsley, were here, there, everywhere, but they were never where they were supposed to be. I wasn't handling the situation. I was not handling the challenge. F for foundation, L for leverage, H for hands, FLH. Three little things, FLH. And I remember before practice, I started focusing on FLH. I would go out to practice early. During practice, while I was in my tight end stance, before the play, before the quarterback gave the hut, I was thinking FLH. I got to have the right footwork, the right foundation, the right leverage, the right hands. After practice, I was staring out to practice with those things. Even when I went home at night, FLH. Mr. Tinsley, once I stopped focusing on the big things and started focusing and implementing those little things, that's when my game changed. Yeah. That's when I started playing winning football. And so when I transitioned from football to food, or again, from the cleats to the kitchen, when I transitioned, all I had to do was really understand whatever platform I was on, understand the assignment. And once I understood the assignment, be it food and beverage or whatever the case may be, if I implemented those three little things, the F, the L, the H, then I knew I stood a chance to succeed. I knew I had to establish the right foundation. I had to leverage my opportunities, and I had to handle the challenges, because we all know wherever there's an opportunity, that's always a challenge. And you have to be able to navigate both. And by me doing the little things right, the big thing has always occurred, giving me 13 years in the NFL, helping me in my marriage, helping me raise my kids, helping me with doing work in the community, helping me in business. Basically, it's just become a lifestyle since 1999. And those have been a winning formula for me.
Great teaching, great comments. As your career moved along, those 13 years, when you started thinking about life after football, and in those FLH that you were working on, what steps were you taking as far as establishing KYVAN Foods and getting started into the business?
Well, when again, I attribute a lot of things, and I give credit where credit is due, to the veterans that I had with me with the Atlanta Falcons. That's a phrase that people have always used. If you fail to plan, you might as well plan to fail. Or if you fail to prepare, you might as well prepare to fail. And I can remember when I was a young guy again with the Falcons, had a lot of older veterans that took me underneath their wings. As a matter of fact, the late, great Dan Reeves, he gave the veterans the autonomy to make sure that they policed the team, to make sure that the rookies and the young guys were doing things the right way that's going to help ensure success. So I had a lot of the older guys like a Jesse Tuggle and a Bob Christian and Terrence Mathis, Sean Jefferson, Gary Downs. Those guys, they took me under their wings, and they taught me the importance of being a professional, right? They taught me how to handle the wins, but also how to handle the losses. They taught me that when you win, still go do the interview. When you lose and you play bad, still go do the interview. Be a professional. They also taught me how to build relationships in the locker room outside of the locker room, because one day the game of football is going to be no more. And they taught me at a young age to plan for retirement. Now, if I was a self-conscious person, if you got a veteran guy, an established guy telling you, hey man, you need to plan for retirement, you can take that the wrong way, right? You could take that as meaning they must be thinking my game is trash. They must not think I'm gonna stay in the league for a long period of time. But basically what they were telling me, regardless of how long you play in this NFL, it's gonna be quick. It's gonna be over. And you're gonna have more life to live after the game than while you're actually playing the game. So you need to start preparing for that now. And they gave me the tools, they gave me the insight, they gave me the advice, so that when I did retire, it was a smooth transition, similar to them. When you think of Jesse Tuggle, the great Jesse Tuggle played 14 to 15 years in the NFL, and he gave advice, and he's doing well after football. Bob Christian is doing well. Gary Downs is doing well. Terrence Mathis is doing well. Those guys obviously were mentored by somebody else, and they paid it forward by mentoring me. Therefore, it's my job. My job is not just to take what I've been given and then hoard it in for myself. My job is also now to pass it to the next generation as well. And by me properly preparing, that's why I said I had a smooth transition from football to food, because I was prepared for it. And I give my veterans a lot of credit for that. And today I still have a great relationship, Mr. Tinsley, with those guys, and they're still mentoring me to this day.
That's great. You all have a Retired Players Association.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I was a rep, when I was a player as well. I felt like that was one way that I could give back, to the retired players, to the current players, also to the up and coming players. I helped negotiate, well, not just me, but my teammates helped negotiate a CBA agreement before I did retire. In 2011 CBA agreement. And so, it makes me feel good knowing that I'm not only contributing on the football field, but I'm contributing for guys lifelong, which is what we have to do.
Yeah. For those, the Retired Players Associations, at one particular time, I was chairman of the board of the NBA Retired Players Association, and working with a lot of the retired guys all over the country, from the American Basketball Association to the NBA, Globetrotters, WNBA, etc. And the meetings and conferences and the learnings that come from that have been very rewarding to a lot of the former players. Some with short careers, some with long careers. But it's a resource where a lot of the guys and girls who have played the sport that can pull from and be supportive, as you've just mentioning. Tell us about KYVAN Foods. What exactly are you doing today?
We are a company that we specialize in innovative, in most cases, never before seen food products. And the kicker is most of our products, we only use clean, natural ingredients. We got products like our award-winning honey apple salsa. We got products like our grandmother-approved honey apple butter. We've created the first ever sweet potato barbecue sauce, believe it or not. And because of this innovation, we've been featured on some major platforms: BET, the Roland Martin, Tabitha Brown's, Forbes, Eat This, Not That, Food Network, Entertainment Tonight, Sports Illustrated, and so many more. And we want to make sure that we're representing our families the right way. And our motto here at KYVAN Foods is one taste, you'll appreciate the goodness. And I'm hoping that those who do experience our brand are doing just that. And I would like to say this, it does make me feel really well. It makes me feel really good that when people see us on particular platforms like your platform and others, and once they purchase our products from those platforms, they end up reaching out, sending us messages, saying how our apple butter really took them back down memory lane, right? Made them remember grandmother used to make apple butter, and when she used to make just a breakfast from scratch, buttermilk biscuits from scratch, and they would slather that apple butter all over those warm buttermilk biscuits, and it made them feel loved because it took them back to their roots. And then there are some that talk about their uncles who was the grill master and always had his signature barbecue sauce, and our sauce tastes just like it when they have family get-together. So they have a sense of nostalgia that's taking them back to some memory they had in the past, and they want to recreate those memories now. And just to know that we are a part of that, it does my heart. So here at KYVAN Foods, we want to create memories, want to rehash old memories, and we want to continue to expand nationwide.
Well, I'm gonna tell you, just seeing that display there on the CBS Morning Show, you got my taste buds watering here, man. So tell us how can we obtain some of your products? How do we find them?
Yeah, you can always go to our website at www.kyvan82.com. That's KYVAN 82.com. We always have some type of promotion, always have some type of deals. We do tons of giveaways, tons of percentages off our products as well. I would love for people to also just check us out on our social media platforms, in particular Facebook and also Instagram at KYVAN82 as well. And on my personal site, Reggie Kelly, I do a lot of posting about our business and other things that we have going on in the community as well. One taste, you will appreciate the goodness. Mr. Tim, I got to get you some, man. I got to make sure
You've got to. And I see some of our listeners on LinkedIn and so forth are commenting now about how it looks. So it's good to have it up there so everybody can see it. Yeah. So how did you come by your logo?
Well, what I wanted to do, I had a company when we first started. I had a company that graphics art design. I told him I wanted something that was very simple, but yet profound. I wanted something that symbolized goodness. I didn't want it to be too crowded and too overwhelming to the point where it wouldn't resonate with consumers. And so this particular logo, it looks like it's wholesome goodness with the circle. Have the leaves coming out of it, because that's what we do with our products. I mean, we don't use high fructose corn syrup, no artificial ingredients, non-GMO. A lot of our products are gluten-free as well. And so we're trying to promote goodness, but also tremendous flavor. And I think this logo really hits the mark.
Mm-hmm. So the production of your product, where it's actually produced, is that local, and where are you located?
So we're located here in Atlanta, GA.
Okay. All right.
And we use co-packers. We use co-packers strategically across the country. And the co-packers, they take our already formulations. Of course, you sign an NDA, right? And they take our formulations, and then they actually make the formulations up to spec. Then they ship the products out to our restaurant customers, hotel customers, retail customers. At first we were heavy retail CPG. And we've somewhat evolved into more food service. So we service a lot of our, restaurants, hotels, colleges, and things of that nature. And we actually really do. We enjoy all three platforms: e-commerce, retail, food service. But food service, I must admit, is one of my favorites.
Yeah.
I'm sure you can attest to as well. You enjoy.
Yes. I'm glad that we're getting an opportunity to see this and hear about the production, because it sounds like one of the best kept secrets around outside of the Atlanta market there in that show.
Well,
Go ahead.
I'm gonna say this too. I've been a big fan of yours for quite some time. I know your story on how you started. I understand your story on your sports background, athletic background, and also when you was at KFC, being a trainer as well, to you building a business to where you are right now, making it a really strong family business. Also, right. There's a lot of work in the community. That means a lot to me. And I try to follow great role models from other athletes who've done big things as well. And it's not just about making money, right? Anybody can make money. As a matter of fact, right. Tony Dungy coached me when I was in the Senior Bowl, and I established a relationship with him and bought one of his books. And I remember in one of his books, he's saying, you know, if your goal in life is just to simply make money, that is a shallow goal. You got to
Right.
have a goal to impact people. And so I never got the opportunity to play for him in the NFL. He told me that he was going to draft me, you know, when he was at Tampa, and then he went to Indianapolis. They did try to recruit me to come play up there, and darn it, I missed out on a Super Bowl ring. But hey,
Yeah.
ended up going to the Cincinnati Bengals. But he's just to look at a guy like that who's making an impact, and to look at a young man like you who is making an impact. I know that it's incumbent on me to also make an impact, and I don't take that lightly. I don't take it lightly. I want to win in everything that I do. I want to succeed in everything that I do, and it's not always fueled by money. It's fueled by
Mhm.
impact, and if I do that, I know everything else will fall in place.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Thanks once again for your kind words. Tony Dunn is one of the finest individuals I've ever met, and great role model. So if you maintain that relationship, that's a great move there. As I look at some of your information, tell us about the community, what community involvement you're doing around there in Atlanta and outside.
Well, you know, we just try to look for opportunities to give back and to help those who are in need. The Bible says it's better to give than to receive, right? And so it's important for us to find and search for opportunities to help those who are in need. You know, we oftentimes talk about our neighbors, loving our neighbors, which is the second greatest commandment. Well, how do you love your neighbors? You love your neighbors by helping those who are in need. And then that's it's not just necessarily those who stay right down the street from you or stay across the street from you. It's those who stay in neighboring towns, neighboring states, neighboring countries, whatever the case may be. And so if it's a situation, especially like a natural disaster where life just start lifing and it's something that happens out of your control, you wasn't expecting it, man, those are the toughest things to overcome. And so whenever there's a natural disaster around this country, around this world, you can usually find my wife and I doing something, giving back something, especially financially. Now, you can always give back with, you know, encouraging work. You can always give back with your time, but a lot of people, especially in this economy, are hurting. And so sometimes you're gonna have to give with your dollars. That's just a no-brainer. And so we understand that, and we make it a point to do that. But we also love giving back, you know, to kids. And so when I retired, you know, shucks, I was coaching rec football, rec basketball, varsity football, all while trying to run a business as well, because I want to teach kids life through sports. And they are our future. Now, I've heard a lot of people say, well, listen, I'm not a leader. But that's not true. We're all are leaders. You're either a good one or a bad one, though. You can make that choice. But we are all leaders. Being a leader simply means you have some type of influence. So regardless of how small your circle is, you are a leader. And I believe that, you know, we should treat everybody that we meet as if they are a central part of our purpose. And the opportunity to positively impact them is a gift from God that each of us can give endlessly, especially kids. And so the things that we teach our kids, not just your biological kids, but any kid that you come in contact with, they're going to remember that. A lot of times it's going to help shape their lives. So it's important for us to make sure as adults that we train these kids the right way, we impact them the right way, we encourage them the right way, we love them the right way, even if it's tough love, because it will definitely resonate with them. And so it does my heart well whenever I have kids that I've coached call me, text me, confide in me. It lets me know that the relationship was bigger than just coach player, that this is a lifelong legacy. And I tell them, I'm passing the baton down to you, and I'm expecting you to go and do big things and recycle the stuff that you've learned from me and others so that you can help the next generation as well.
Mhm. Reggie, good comments. I know you mentioned Gary Downs before. We've had Gary Downs on the show. Do you and him work closely together, or know one another?
Yeah, we know one another. Gary and I stay close to each other. Gary's doing a great job. I know with FCA does a great. He and his wife Tanya have done a great job with their kids. They
Right.
do a great job in the community with high school kids now as well. Gary at one time, of course, as you know, was coaching in college and giving his time and energy with that. And he's big into mentorship. And again, he was a running back when I was a tight end with the Atlanta Falcons. And yet he still found a way to enter the tight end meeting room and make it back as only he could. So I am extremely proud to see that he's never changed over the years. He's always been committed. He's still committed. And just to see how his kids are blossoming as well, his biological kids are blossoming, doing great things. They're represented by the extremely well.
So you're Reggie, in your business, got a little audio problems there. Can you hear me? Okay. In your business, can you tell us a little bit about some of the obstacles that you may have that you faced and how you've been able to turn those around in business, and possibly pull from when you played football, how you would approach some of those obstacles?
Yeah, well, I would say my mentality is somewhat like this. You know, problems are the common thread running through the lives of all great men and women. But great men and women don't run from problems; they solve them. And if you want to be great at anything, if you want to be a success at anything, and again, this is not just money. If you want to have a successful marriage, you want to run a successful business, whatever the case may be, you're going to have to know how to face and overcome challenges. The great Dr. George Frazier puts it this way, somewhat paraphrasing. He says that obstacles are the way. You know, anytime that the good Lord has a blessing in store for you, he allows an obstacle to come in your way, a challenge to come in your way, or better yet, we can call it an opportunity to be placed in your way. And it's not your job to run from it. It's not your job to pout. It's not your job to shy away from it. It's your job to face that challenge. And whether if you go around it, under it, over it, or through it, you have to be able to overcome that challenge, because the blessing on the other side is going to help you. It's going to help this challenge is going to help prepare you for the blessing that's on the other side. And that particular blessing will help somebody else, definitely help you, make you stronger for the next challenge that God has for you. So in regards to this food and beverage industry, one of my biggest challenges was marketing. I mean, anytime that I have to try to compete against brands that are established, brands that have the resources, they have the personnel, they have the experience, they have the strategy. It's hard to get marketing shares in this particular market in the food and beverage industry. So what I had to do is I had to understand what was my hero product. I had to understand, the demographics. I had to understand the type of content I was going to have to use to get that demographic of customers to become my customer. And at the beginning, I didn't do a good job of that. I struggled tremendously because I was trying to market to the masses. I was trying to market to people all over the United States who had never heard of KYVAN. And so I was diluting my marketing efforts. But I met with a Walmart buyer early on in my career. And she wanted to see my marketing plan if they gave me some real estate in a Walmart store. And I gave her my marketing plan, my marketing strategy as to how we was going to get products moving off the shelves. And she kind of gave me a little bit of a smirk and shook her head a little bit. And I was trying to read her mind and didn't quite know where she was going with it, because I felt like, hey, this got to be a great marketing strategy. I know she's impressed. And she asked me, she's like, why are you spending so much money on all of these big platforms? And I was like, well, I thought that that's really what I had to do in order for you guys to know that, hey, I was serious about doing business with you guys. And she said, listen to me, you don't have to do all of that. She said, because you are a small business, you have limited funds or limited working capital. You have to maximize that capital. You're not like a big company yet. They can use tons and tons of funds, but you don't have to do that. And she told me, she said, listen, I'm going to tell you a little secret. We were the first ones to give Sweet Baby Ray's a shot. And she said the way that they grew is that they took their samples into local markets. They went to local tailgating events via high school, college, and pros. And they saturated that market by giving away free samples. Now, I'm not sure if they were regular size samples or small single serve samples, but they gave samples, free samples, and that was cost effective. It was a kind of a bootstrapping type of a way of marketing their brand. And she said once they saturated one area, then they went to the next state, they went to the next state, and they built their brand brick by brick, layer by layer, not how you're doing it. And so, Mr. Tinsley, I spent a lot of money. I spent a lot of time, trying to hit the big masses. And I'm telling you, that caused a lot of strain on my business early on. But I had to pivot, and I had to have some type of understanding about me, to listen to people who've been there and done that, more experienced than me, take a step back and re-strategize. And by doing it, I started taking that same approach. And it's definitely been great for my business. So one of the biggest challenges that I face in most small business is marketing. And marketing is ever evolving. And if you don't handle it the right way, your business is definitely not going to be a success.
Well, I tell you, going from what you mentioned as the obstacle and seeing you on CBS morning show, that's a big jump there, young man. And I tell you that one shot there does a lot for your business. You mentioned that you and your family, your wife, started out. Are you all still working together in the business? And if so, how does that work?
Oh yeah, oh yes. My wife and we work together in this business. And my daughter, she just graduated college. She was summa cum laude. She every semester she was in college, she was either on the president's list or on the dean's list. And she graduated with a degree in digital marketing. So she's been helping us all along the way, with our company. My son just graduated from Georgia military, and he's been helping us also. And my wife and I'm going to say this, my wife and I are best friends. We're high school sweethearts. And so before we started dating, we were just platonic friends. And so we do everything together. And I remember even when we were dating, we always said that we wanted to start a business together. And so this was a great opportunity after football that we could do just that and then leave a legacy behind to our kids. And so my wife and I, we do all our presentations together. We do food shows together. So wherever you see me, you're normally going to see her. Wherever you see her, you're normally going to see me. And we work well together. Of course, she wins all the arguments, but you know how that goes, Mr. Tesla.
Yes, yes, I do. Yes, I do. After 54 years, I know her very well.
As they say, happy wife, happy life.
That's exactly right. Well, that's great. Now, audience out there, I've seen some of the comments there. They're really appreciate and get an understanding of how two a husband and wife can work in a business and grow that business the way that you and your wife have done. So, especially being together so long. One of the things you mentioned is doing the little things right uh, in your discipline. Can you highlight a few things there that some of our audience might take from what you do as a principal on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, I just think in anything you do, you're gonna have to, number one, be consistent.
Mhm.
Right? You're gonna have to be competent, and especially in our business, you got to exemplify great customer service. I mean, it's the three C's. You got to be competent in anything that you do, right? Especially when you're trying to be an entrepreneur. You have to know your business inside and out. You have to know your business better than anybody else. So you got to be competent. You got to know your strengths, your weaknesses, the opportunities, and the threats. You and I both know that in the business world, there's a SWOT analysis, right? You have to know
Yep.
your strengths. You have to know your weaknesses. Those are internal. Those are internal. You can control those things. Now, your strengths, you want the world to know about those strengths. You want to broadcast those as much as you can. Your weaknesses, you don't want the world to know about that, especially your competitors. But yet you need to know your weaknesses, and you need to be able to refine those weaknesses, hopefully to make those strengths, make your weaknesses strengths for you. I mean, I hear a lot of business. I mentor a lot of small businesses, and a lot of them, when you ask them, what are your weaknesses? Oh boy, they don't want to touch that subject. And someone would say, we don't have any. Well, that's not true.
Yep.
As humans, we have strengths, and as humans, we have flaws. So obviously, as a business, you have strengths and you have flaws, but you have to be honest with yourself in order to be a successful business. So you have to understand your weakness, but you also got to understand your opportunities and the threats. Those are external. You can't control those, but you can capitalize on those. If you're in a market where the opportunities are extremely saturated, you may want to either look in another market or see how your product or service is so unique that you can still penetrate that particular market. And then what are your threats? What are those things that are going to absolutely handicap your business if they were to come to fruition? So it's important to be confident, but it's also important to be consistent, right? I'm going to say that I there's nothing more that I hate, or hate is a strong word. There's nothing more that irritates me more than when I go to a restaurant and try a particular entree, and that entree is fire. I mean, slamming. I'm talking about good. Only for me to come back and frequent that same restaurant again because I got my mouth set on that same entree, and for that entree to be lackluster and not the same flavor profile, not the same quality. It makes you scratch your head and think, okay, what's going on here? Do they have a different chef? Do they have different cooks? Are they sourcing different ingredients? Because this is definitely not the same thing that I tasted the first time. And when you're inconsistent, you will lose customers because, especially in this type of economy, nobody wants to waste their hard-earned money. They don't want to try to figure out, am I going to get what I paid for, whether if it's a service or a good. And so it's absolutely imperative to be consistent, but you have to also exemplify great customer service. I mean, I'm not going to list this restaurant, but everybody knows the one that I'm talking about. They have such great customer service. The food may not be 5-star, but the customer service is 5-star. The ones I visited, Chuck, they bring your food to you, ask you, do you need condiments, ask you if you want refills, ask you if you want to get a dessert. I mean, they are so nice and so they make me want to say, well, excuse me, do you guys have any Grey Poupon as well? Because they give you a 5-star customer service. Right. And when you have that, it makes you want to continue to support and frequent that particular establishment. So it's important for you to exemplify those 3 C's that will help you be a success in your business ventures.
Yeah, good point. Good point. And the one other thing that you would add to that is people eat with their eyes. What they see, has a lot to do with. Yes.
Like that. Would you mind expounding a little bit more on that, Mr. Tinsley? I like that.
Well, the point is that people, when they pull into your restaurant, or when they pull into your service area, whatever they might be, the appearance, the cleanliness jumps out. A lot of people, when they come in your restaurant, they go to the restroom. If your restroom is dirty, if the hallway is cluttered, then that will turn them off. And then right on up to the register, to the cash, to the point of sale. And when they're looking at your employees, if your employees are not dressed properly and clean and neat, and give them eye contact, and the product itself, as the presentation as it comes out and comes to you, if you're in, let's just say, a KFC, so it's a lot of things that I tell my employees that as a customer, when they walk in, there's 2 sets of eyes, and they're looking at everything that's moving. It all goes into that hard-earned money that they're spending and what they're purchasing. The taste profile, as you mentioned before, so many times you go into a restaurant, you have a great experience, but then you come back and the flavor profile has changed, and as you mentioned, and you wonder what the heck went on here. So everything you said was right on point. I just wanted to add that eye contact as a part of it also. So great points. So
stuff.
Lastly, what would you, as we near the end, what would you tell other athletes out there, professional athletes, and some of these college athletes with this NIL money that's flying around that might want to get into business, restaurant business, or other businesses? What advice would you give them?
For athletes, the first thing I would ask them is what are you passionate about? Like,
Mhm.
what are you passionate about? Because usually, whatever you're passionate about, the good Lord has already given you the skill set to perform at a high level on that platform that you are passionate about. I mean, just notice anything that you're passionate about, you have that skill set, and it becomes easier for you to accomplish that goal on that platform than it does other people. Why? Because they don't have that same skill set. They don't have the bandwidth, the mentality, the mental capacity, the physical assets. And so the good Lord programmed it that way. And so that's the first thing before you jump into any business, before you jump into any type of business venture. First thing, what are you passionate about? Now, if you're passionate about that, there's a good chance you have the skill set to do that. I also want athletes to understand, like I had mentioned to you earlier, that you're more than just an athlete. One of the things I'm really disappointed on when people think that just because I'm an athlete, that does not mean I don't have the smarts. I'm extremely smart. God has given me the capacity to be able to figure anything out and to do it extremely well. So I let athletes understand that just because you were an athlete for 5 years, 10 years, listen, that was one phase of your life. Now let's look into the other gifts and talents that you have, because you're more than just an athlete. But here's the thing. Here's the thing that I would tell a lot of athletes is you can't just rest on your laurels of being an athlete. You have to understand when you were an athlete, in order for you to play the game on the football field on Sundays, I didn't just show up on Sundays, Mr. Tinsley, right? Man,
Right.
we went through a rigorous regimen in order to get prepared for Sundays. Man, it started way back when we were doing OTAs, where we had to lift weights, where we had to do conditioning, then we had to do mini camps, then it led up to training camp, then preseason, all of that stuff sharpen our tools to get us prepared for the regular season. And then the regular season gets you prepared for the postseason. Just like you had to take the necessary step to continue to prune, to develop, to refine your talents. Now that you're done with athletics, now you got another gift and talent. And guess what? You're gonna have to prune, develop, and refine that one as well with the same type of intensity, with the same type of detail, right? That's gonna help you to succeed in this next chapter of your life. So first and foremost, I want athletes to understand that you're more than just an athlete. What are you passionate about? And once you find out what you're passionate about, you're going to have to prune and develop that skill set just like you did when you were an athlete.
Reggie, it's been just great advice, man, and I can tell that you and your wife are going to be very, very successful, keeping that same attitude and then your gusto for what you're doing. So keep going, man. And once again, I want to make sure that everybody, our listeners, are able to see how to get in touch with you. If we can flash that back up on the screen, and if there's anything that you want to say to our listeners as we wind down the program, please let us hear it.
Yes, I'll say a couple of things. The first thing is how you do anything is how you do everything. So make sure in everything that you do it with excellence. My dad always told me also that we should always pray like everything depends on God, which it does. And you got to work like everything depends on you. For faith without works is dead. And I end with this, what my mother always told me. There will always be someone who doesn't see your worth. Never let that someone be you. Let's get it, guys.
Outstanding. Reggie, thank you. We appreciate you and wish you all the best. Let's stay in touch as we move on. I hope to be in the Atlanta area here pretty soon, so we'll be in touch.
Absolutely. Hit me up and also send me your address so I can get you guys some samples too. I appreciate you. Continued success.
Outstanding. Thank you.
Thank you.
This has been Catch as Catch Can. The game isn't over. Your success story is just getting started. Head to tinsleyspeaks.com for exclusive content, resources, and opportunities. Catch as Catch Can with George Tinsley Sr., a production of Live Stream Editors.